I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hello, you beleaguered and hopeful peeps. We're Unleashed AF, and we are ready to bring you some of the latest lowlights of our current shiitake of a government. So along with a little hope, hopefully, and ways to hold your ground and fight back, we are diving into the unknown yet again this week. I'm Deidre Beecham, mentor and catalyst for women who refuse to stay stuck. I left a religious cult, came out of the closet, and walked away from a 20-year marriage based on nice girl training and patriarchal conditioning. Over 27 months, I rewired my mind and reclaimed my power, and now I dare nice girls to unleash their power voice, take up space, and lead like the badasses they already are. They just need to remember. Jenny, take it away.
I'm Jenny Badig, hypno coach and human factors engineer. I empower people to tap into their subconscious superpowers, to be used for good, of course, and to achieve their full potential. And welcome to Unleashed AF, the podcast where we help you own your greatness and unleash your authentic self. If you're enjoying our shows, be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, all those social media verbs, and drop your thoughts, questions, and suggestions in the chat or comments, or on our website, which is unleashedafpodcast.com. And you can go to the WWJDD page at that website to leave comments. That stands for What Would Jenny and Deidre Do? We do this podcast every week for you, and we love hearing from you.
Yeah, we absolutely do. In our last episode, it was our first time doing it, but we talked about all of the shiitake that went down that previous week. And if you missed last week's episode and you want to watch it, it's currently available on YouTube and on Facebook, Unleashed AF. And so we are going to continue what we were doing before. There is so much going down. And so we are not going to give you a long list of all the things that went down. We're going to give you a list of things that we think are important that came up during the week. Doesn't mean they are the most important things. There may be more important things to you that affect you directly. These are things that we found important for whatever reason, and we're going to share those with you. And we'd love to hear from you as well. But we're going to go ahead and get started on some of the things that we thought were really important. And so, Jenny, why don't you start with what the first topic is that we're going to bring up, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that we thought that this was kind of important and happened fairly recently. Unless you're under a rock, you've heard about this.
Right. Even, I don't watch really hardly any news other than clips that I see online or on my phone. But I'm pretty sure this has been prominent for anybody that has exposure to any kind of technology this week, is that the, powers that be, I guess is one way to call them.
Sure.
I don't want to call them leaders really, but the powers that be at the moment had a little chat on the Signal app on their cell phones, as far as I know. I don't believe it was even anything that was secure, because I don't think a Signal app would have been allowed to be downloaded on a secure phone, about their attack plans in Yemen. And to me, that's enough of a story. And everyone involved in that situation should resign or be fired.
Yeah, it's insanity. If this had happened, well, tell people it was details. These were details of
timing,
plans.
the type
like they're playing a game of Risk.
Yeah. And the thing that seemed to make it such a big story is the fact that one of the people on the chat invited by mistake a journalist from the Atlantic. Now, to me, that's just a happy accident.
Yeah.
That's how we know that they were doing this. The real issue is that they were discussing these plans in an unsecure manner. Everybody that I've seen interviewed about this throughout the week from previous administrations or that's ever worked on defense stuff in the White House or in the Pentagon has mentioned it is never discussed over a phone unless it's a secure phone inside a secured area inside of a secured building. Like, it's not just, oh, we talk about it when we're in the White House in the hallway. No, you're in like the Situation Room where your phones have to be outside, even Apple Watches and shit like that. Anything that could get a signal and like potentially record or whatever can't even come into the room.
Yeah.
But these people are just chatting about it on a Signal app. Now, I didn't know as much about the Signal app. You mentioned more about it in terms of like where it comes from or what it's used for, or whatever. I didn't even know what it is. I just know it's not a secure app.
I know that it's well known as an app that you can use to cheat on your wife, because
Maybe that's why they all had it.
But I'm sure there are people that use it for other things as well. But that's one of the things that it's certainly known for.
Well, you said it, like things don't stay on it. Like, how long does it stay on before it gets deleted or whatever?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know enough
Snapchat's that
about.
way, right?
I don't know enough about the Signal app, but I definitely know it's not something that they should have been using for. Talking about war plans.
And of course, one of the first things that these powers that be start to do in the media is push back and make the reporter sound like someone who is guilty of always creating hoaxes or conspiracy theories or whatever. It's like, no, that's not the problem here. It's not the problem at all. The problem is what you guys were doing, because it was confirmed by the White House that yes, they in fact did discuss those plans on a Signal app.
Yeah, and it is known. I can tell you that Signal is known as an encrypted app for the general populace. It is considered an encrypted app, but not for discussions of war. You know, that's kind of like saying, well, I don't have to worry about being tracked because I have my my phone's in airplane mode. Sorry to be the bearer of news for you, but that is not true. And so while they say that this is a secure app, it's not as secure as you need for Pentagon level discussions.
Right. Exactly. So one of the videos I wanted to show that kind of fills in a little more of the information is part of the congressional hearings that have been happening about this. And it's just amazing that some of the stuff that these people just won't answer or deny, or so let's just watch this for a bit and talk about it on the other side.
I want to go back to what I addressed at the outset. I mean, this was not only sloppy, it not only violated all procedures, but if this information had gotten out, American lives could have been lost. The Houthis had this information, could reposition their defensive systems. So I want to get a little more information about this. Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not, are you denying, Matt, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat?
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because
Council.
it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
As the White House previously
Is it classified or non-classified information on this text?
I can confirm.
Director Radcliffe, were you on the group chat?
Senator, I was on a Signal messaging group.
So you were the John Ratcliffe on that chat?
I was.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I provide some context, Senator, to that?
Yes, but I've got a series of questions.
Well, but I think it's important because at the outset, you made a couple of comments about Signal messaging using encrypted apps. So that we're clear, one of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
Director Ratcliffe, I've got a series of questions. If you're making the statement, the signal is a secure channel.
No, can I answer that? It is
I've got a series
end-to-end decryption. So to finish,
I understand encryption.
It is permissible to use to communicate and coordinate for work purposes, provided, Senator, that any decisions that are made are also recorded through formal channels. Right. So those were procedures that were implemented. My staff implemented those processes, followed those processes, complied with those processes, and finally, just please. So my communications, to be clear, in a signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful and did not include classified information.
Well, we will make that determination, because if it's not classified, share the text with the committee. Let me go on. Director Gabbard, you are the security executive and set access guidelines for classified information. Did you contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a SCIF?
There was no classified material that was shared in that.
So then if there was no classified material, share it with the committee.
So that goes on for a while.
And of course, we now know it absolutely was classified information.
Right. Yeah. And so as much as he was trying to defend that it was an approved app for them to communicate, that does not mean it was approved for classified information.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Tulsi Gabbard said. She was like, it's loaded on all of our phones. I don't care. I mean, solitaire could be loaded on your phone.
Right.
It doesn't mean you talk in the chat about war.
Right. Right. It's just ridiculous. And
so
there was another, I don't know if it was later in that video or maybe a different clip that I saw where they were asking them, were you aware that one of the people in that Signal group chat was actually in Russia at the time of the chat? And of course they were like, no, I had no knowledge of where so-and-so was. And then even Tulsi Gabbard herself was overseas somewhere. And she couldn't even remember where she was. She's like, I would have to look at the schedule, my travel schedule to know where I was. Yeah. So, not only are they not in a secure room in a secure building when they're having these discussions, they're all over the world when these communications are going on. So it's just, this really should be a straightforward thing. This is absolutely a threat to the country and our security and our safety, especially our armed forces safety. So there's another quick video that I want to show, which is a Democratic senator on Fox News. She used to be a pilot in the military. So this was kind of her take.
Senator Duckworth, your statement today was pretty pointed. You said Pete Hegseth is an effing liar. This is so clearly classified info he recklessly leaked that could have gotten our pilots killed. You say he needs to resign. So you think he should step down?
I do, because what he texted was the drones are going to hit, then the second sortie of F-18s will be on target. That tells the enemy exactly when the drones hit in that spot, 30 minutes later, the F-18s are going to be there. That is my concern. That's why I'm so upset. As a former pilot, I have a special affinity for pilots who are out there. And these men and women, thank goodness we're not injured on this mission. And I worry about future missions. I worry that our allies might not share information with us.
And that's a really good point.
It was a very real and valid threat to their safety because of the specific information that was shared. Now, it's potential that the reason it wasn't picked up on and didn't come back to hurt us because maybe people in Yemen don't have that kind of technology. But if this was something where we were bombing somewhere else, that was supported or had concerns from Russia or whoever.
Well,
They
even
could
if you
tap into it.
take the Signal app out of it, it could have been any app. The fact that they
Mhm.
accidentally invited a reporter.
Mhm.
First of all, I'm not sure how you accidentally invite a reporter, but
Yeah.
you know, um, that reporter could have gone out and made a shit ton of money giving all that information out to
Mhm.
our enemies,
Mhm.
which evidently keep increasing by the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And he actually removed himself once he realized, I mean, he was there long enough to see, holy shit, how did I get invited to this? And then he removed himself from the chat, didn't participate in it, removed himself. Yet they're still blaming him for being, incompetent and always making up shit. It's like, no, he's the only one that did the right thing here.
Well, yeah. Well, and he's the reason we know that this actually happened
Right.
because they immediately denied it. As you saw,
Mhm.
Tulsi's like, I wasn't even there.
Mhm.
I mean, she didn't say that, but I'm not
Yeah.
answering that question. And it's only because of that reporter that we know that they're all lying. And then
Yep.
they had to come on and say, well, yeah, okay, so we did, but it's not a big deal. I mean, nothing happened. Not
Yeah.
a big deal.
The thing that continues to amaze me is how they squirm out of everything that they ever get accused of. And it's so typical, like textbook, every like teenager or kid that's ever gotten in trouble with something. It's just that's
Deflect,
what you
project,
do. Yeah,
deflect and
you start
project.
with just denying, and then when you get caught in the denial that that's not true, like, okay, and then I deflect to something else, and like it's just the playbook that they use, and there's so many people that refuse to see that. And I don't know if it's just because they've never been parents and haven't had to deal with that in a child that gets in trouble, but or if they just refuse to believe that adults could act that way. I really don't know how they miss that, but it's consistent and predictable. And like you said, not only are we gaining more enemies every day, but this absolutely brings into question other countries' abilities to trust us with any kind of intelligence information.
Oh, yeah, and actually, I think we have a video on that. Let me pull this up real
Mhm.
quick. Yeah, and this is Britain talking, correct?
Yep, British Parliament.
After President Trump's national security advisor accidentally added a journalist to a group chat that was discussing military action in Yemen, and given, I think, all the concerns that we share about President Trump's relationship with Vladimir Putin and J.D. Vance's insulting disdain for Britain and our armed forces, will the Prime Minister make it clear that he will order an urgent review into the security of the intelligence that we share with the United States?
Like, I can't blame them. Absolutely, they should look into sharing any kind of intelligence with the US. I wouldn't.
Any country, I think
Yep.
would be foolish to share information with our government right now.
Absolutely.
We look incredibly incompetent, and yeah, it's just insanity. It's just absolutely
I mean, it's embarrassing on an international level for sure.
Yeah.
It's maddening on a level like anyone in the military who's ever been deployed or had to go in to do any kind of airstrike or whatever should be furious
Oh yeah,
about this.
yeah, and I'm sure if we don't already have responses from the military, I'm sure that we will hear responses from the military soon.
I would hope. And I would hope they would be not in support of what happened. Even the action, I thought, why the fuck are we even bombing Yemen? Like, I thought one of the things that Trump would always say is, oh, I don't get us into conflicts, I get us out of conflicts or whatever. So why are you over there bombing Yemen right now? And I don't believe he even had congressional agreement to do that because he doesn't get congressional agreement to do anything anymore. Even though he has
No.
a Republican majority in both sides, he doesn't bother with that stuff. They just decide, and even the discussion, I haven't seen the entire transcript, but I've seen parts of it, and other people too have looked at it who have experience with that kind of discussion. They're like, this is not the type of stuff that we would talk about behind closed doors. Like, there's a lot more thought and discussion about the different outcomes and what are the options, what's the least amount of risk or casualties that can be taken. There's all that kind of discussion. That's not what these guys were talking about at all. It was more about, hey, how can we send this firepower over there? And if we do this, it's going to be quick and we'll be out. Done. Just pathetic. There was another clip that I saw. We didn't include it today, but another clip where a senator was asking someone that was involved in that chat, was Hegseth drunk when this discussion was going on?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, I don't think that's an appropriate question to ask. He has a history of being an alcoholic. He made a very bad decision to have this discussion on the Signal app. I think it's an absolutely legitimate question to be asking.
Yeah, not a question we thought we'd need to be asking. But there you go.
Prior to having an alcoholic as the Secretary of Defense. But it sure came up in his hearings for getting approved to be Secretary of Defense, and got brushed away. So that was just huge to me. And if that goes through and doesn't actually turn into, it shouldn't just be one person's head that rolls for this. No. It really should be several, if not everybody that was on that chat, that gets either completely out of the government situation altogether or punished in some way. This can't go unpunished.
Yeah, it's and I wish I had the old naivety that I used to have when I thought, oh my gosh, he made fun of a guy that doesn't have has a brain injury or something. I can't remember what exactly was wrong with the kid. And I thought, this will do him in. This will do him in. And every single time I've thought, well, so and so needs to be punished for this. So and so needs to take accountability for this, and this needs. I mean, he seems like he's Teflon. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens. And if anybody's head is going to roll for it, it's probably going to be Tulsi. I don't think it's going to be Hegseth at all. I really don't.
It should be.
It should be.
I mean, she wasn't the one leading the discussion by any means. So it really shouldn't be her head rolling. But
yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So it's easier for them to knock her off.
Exactly.
And she wasn't always in support of Trump, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think she was.
So there's another reason. Knock her off.
Wow. It's just insanity. And and I know that even if we weren't having all of the crazy civil rights issues that we're having right now, because the other countries, there are warnings out about coming and visiting the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Tourism is incredibly down. We talked about that last week, about how much tourism is down and hurting certain businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But even without that, just the fact that this happened, in my opinion, makes me think, wow, I'd be scared to come to this country too. I'd scared to be an enemy of this country too. I mean, it's crazy. And we keep making more and more enemies. We made enemies of Canada. We made enemies of Greenland. Who makes enemies with Greenland?
Exactly. And who makes enemies with Canada? I don't know if Canada having any enemies.
Yeah. And the scourge continues because he's also attacking now our unless you had something else to say about that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Columbia University. If you haven't heard about what happened in Columbia University, first thing that happened was, because they get endowments, they get money from the government every year, and they were promised a certain amount of money. And I don't know if it's called endowments. I don't know what it's called, but there's a certain amount of money that they get from the government. And this year, they were getting $400 million. And it's not all of their money. If you're saying, well, they shouldn't be getting all that money from the government, all the universities get money from the government, various levels.
For things
And
like
they have,
research and stuff like that. For
yeah,
a variety of reasons.
it's a portion of their overall budget for the year. And not
Mhm.
even a major portion. I mean, that's a lot of money, but they have billions that they spend on the institution every year. So, but what happened was they had this money that was coming to them, and Doge goes in, Trump goes in, and they're like, whoa, 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 Colombia. We're not giving you all this money. You guys are a problem. And they were already promised the money. But, there's all the pro-Palestinian marches going on, sit-ins that are going on at Columbia University. I mean, Columbia is very prestigious and shoots out some of our best lawyers in the country. So what you're going to be listening to, and I'm not going to have it on for the entire time. It's 3 minutes and 49 seconds. We can put it up on our Facebook page if you'd like. But we're listening to a former Columbia University law professor talking about what happened and the letter that our government sent Columbia University and the position that they put them in.
Hi, it's Catherine Franke, a retired member of the Columbia Law faculty. I just learned something incredible. The Trump administration has issued a ransom note to Columbia University saying, we'll begin to negotiate with you about the money that we have illegally seized, the $400 million in federal grants, if and only if you do the following things. So here's their demands. One, that all of the disciplinary cases that are outstanding at Columbia be resolved according to terms that the government now sets. Expulsion or serious suspensions, regardless of the facts. Just we want those students to be expelled or suspended for long periods of time. Secondly, the university has to abolish the disciplinary body, the University Judicial Board, which is part of shared governments at Columbia, something that is part of the university statutes, and that all of the disciplinary cases must be moved into the president's office, who would, in her own and sole capacity, be the investigator, the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury in disciplinary cases. Third, that the university has to implement a mask ban, that no one on campus can wear a mask, even if they have good medical reasons for doing so. And there are plenty of them in this time when COVID still is a reality. Fourth, that the university has to adopt the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which among its many features collapses anti-Semitism with the critique of the State of Israel, any of its policies, or of Zionism, a political ideology. Next, the Middle East Studies Department has to be put in receivership. Now, MISAS, that's the name of the Middle East Studies Department at Columbia, has had nothing to do with the protests on campus. It's an academic department. There's students who take classes in our undergraduate and graduate schools, but that department, simply because it has the words Middle East in it, has to be put into receivership. And then lastly, our campus public safety department has to be turned into police, with the power to arrest and remove students, which also violates the university's rules, the university's constitution. So what we have here is the federal government stepping in and basically running a private university in and through what are the demands as part of ransom in order to return money that it has already committed by contract to provide to Columbia University.
So this lady had put this information out prior to Columbia caving, because she goes on to say what they really need to do is not accept the money. It's horrible. It'll be difficult, but that's what they need to do. They need to stand on principle and not accept the money. And yes, it's going to hurt, blah, blah, blah. And they caved. And there are students that since then that have been that, that have faced expulsion. There are people that were planning on going to Columbia, had their acceptance letters, and they're not going. And which is what I hope happens. But in essence, by putting those divisions into receivership, it's basically Trump saying, we will tell you what you teach in these classes. They're basically saying, we will tell you whether you even teach them or not at all.
Yep.
So Columbia University, in my opinion, and tell me you see something different, Jenny, because
No, it's like an
when I heard this,
it's
well, when I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like they're trying to make the first Nazi school out of Columbia.
And part of the thing that's surprising to me about that is I believe Columbia has a pretty healthy law school.
Yes, it does.
So do
And
they
they
not
just
have? Well, they probably got overridden by whoever is in charge, but yeah, it's really scary, sad, unfortunate. And as I was reading something that Robert Reich had posted last night, he, of course, is a professor out at Berkeley. And so he knows professors all over the place. He was talking to a friend of his, another professor who was at Columbia, about, I don't remember exactly what the topic was, but all topics discussed at this point by people at that level are related to the politics of the day in some way, shape, or form. And whoever, I think they were just talking on the phone, and the professor he was talking to said, well, I've got to get going. And Robert's like, well, I'd really like to continue this discussion. If you want, just send it to me, like the rest of what you've been seeing happening or whatever, in an email. And the guy was like, no, I am not putting any of that in writing, because they're looking for stuff like that now. Like, we could lose even more funding. So, he has absolutely been intimidated as an individual professor there by this action.
Wow. Yeah, it's to me, I just thought this is insane. And I was very, very, very hopeful when I saw the number of people that said that they had been accepted to Columbia, and they're like, not going. It's been my dream my entire life to go to Columbia, and I'm not going to go. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's going to take us being uncomfortable moving forward. It's uncomfortable not to order from Amazon. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to not be able to go to Walmart. Now, I know some people have to go to Walmart. It's the only source you have, especially in rural areas. Sometimes that's the only place you can go. I get it.
Yep.
But if you can, I mean, there are a lot of things that are going to be really uncomfortable, because if we don't experience some discomfort now, and this is why I'm so upset with Columbia, and and I understand it's hard to turn down $400 million. I get it, especially when you already had plans for that money. I mean, you don't get that money from the government unless you had plans for that money.
Right.
And I'm sure people would have had to been fired. Departments would have been gone. It would have been really, really difficult. But whatever difficulty this government is going to send your way, it's going to be way more difficult if we keep giving up.
Yeah.
If we keep going, well, that's okay. Yeah, sure. This is not okay. This is not okay for them to be coming after Columbia and telling Columbia how to run their institution.
Yeah. I mean, the first word that came to my mind in hearing that video, that recording that you played, was, it's not legal. It's illegal for
Doesn't
them
matter.
to withhold that money that was Congress already appropriated it and everything.
Yeah, she goes on to talk about that in that video. That is absolutely illegal, but they had him over a barrel because they don't care about legalities. This government does not care about legalities. It is not listening to the decisions being passed down by the courts.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, as much as Trump has liked to trumpet that there's a, two-tier legal system or whatever he wants to call it, and he's made it sound like it's everybody against him or Democrats against Republicans or whatever, there's absolutely problems with our legal system when people can just continue to do things and ignore what the legal system has said are staying within the laws, and you've broken the law, therefore you should be punished, or you need to, first of all, stop doing the illegal thing. Second of all, get punished for it. And he continues to do things without getting punished. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That needs to get fixed.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's money and power that draws the line in terms of the tiers, however many tiers you want to call it in the legal system. It's not red versus blue.
Yes. And that I just did a post last week about, my goodness, guys, if you voted for Trump, surely this isn't what you expected. And, we all need to come together and fight this together. I didn't once say anything about Republicans or Democrats. All I did was mention Trump. Mm-hmm. And somebody came on my post and it was like, well, before we come and join you, you need to take a look at things you've said to us, you've said about us, and take a look at why we voted for him. And I'm like, this is not the time for that. I'm not yelling at you and saying, how the hell did you vote this guy in? How the hell? I'm not even saying any of that. I'm like, I'm not even shaming. I wasn't even shaming. I was just like, surely this isn't what you wanted. Let's all come together and fight this, Right. And she's like, well, what about the Democrats? And I don't even think the Democrats can be as badly as the Republicans. The Republicans can't come back from this. They're going to have to be something different. The Democrats can't come back from this either.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be something different. Mm-hmm. So the political parties as they exist in my head don't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. Because as much as I'm not going to vote a Republican, I'm honestly not going to vote Democrat right now. It's going to have to be a different party. You're going to have to, because it can't continue the way it is. It just
neither side is effective. Neither is both sides are lame duck at this point.
Exactly. And it's one of the wonderful things I've loved about watching AOC and Tim Walz and Bernie Sanders out there, not because they're fucking Democrats, okay? And not because of that, but because they're coming out and they're saying, look, the Democrats have to change. This is not working. Mm-hmm. We have to be for the people. The party needs to be, we need a party for the people that isn't taking corporate interests. And yes, all of the above, above. Is it Democrats? I don't know. Is it called the working class for the people? I don't know. Yeah. But something's got to be different. And I love the reactions to people who are saying, I'm leaving the school. I only have 1 year left. I'm leaving. I can't be here. Good on you. Is it uncomfortable? It absolutely is. It's uncomfortable, but I'm really proud of the people who are standing up for their values and not falling for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's more craziness. I know you have something else you want to share with us about what's going on.
I mean, to go from the college age side of the age spectrum all the way up to the people living on Social Security, which is, I think I saw somewhere, it's like 1 in 5 people in the country receive Social Security benefits at this point. And I'm sure a good number of those people are Republicans. And just to kind of mimic what you were saying about that last issue we were talking about, I'm quite sure this was not what they voted for. And part of how Trump, I think, is trying to get around it is he's not doing things directly himself. He's having Elon go in and with the undercover of Doge and saying, oh, it's inefficient. First, they're claiming, millions and millions of people over 150 years old or some shit like that were getting checks. Not true. Some people were. And there are some situations, not a lot, where a death isn't reported accurately. And so people can still cheat the system in that way. I absolutely agree that that's possible and is probably happening in little bits, drips and drabs. But it's not to the extent that they're making it sound like, just like with voter fraud. There's a few people that got caught for trying to do voter fraud. Actually, most of them Republican. And
Not in the
not
numbers that
nearly
they
the
pre-
issue that
yeah.
they made it sound like it was. Now, the other thing that I've been hearing is they've cut off checks to people that were like under 18, thinking that that was fraud. No, that was a whole nother program for survivors of people that should be getting the benefits that their parents earned. And so that's when it goes towards those people. It's just, because they don't really know what they're digging into. They're just looking for any opportunity to make a cut.
They don't care.
Okay, we saved that. Yeah.
They don't care.
They don't care. They don't understand. They don't care until people fight back and make a stink about it. So that's another argument for calling when you hear about any of this stuff, whether it's affecting you directly, someone you know, someone in your family, or you just hear about it, start making those calls to your representatives, because it is a squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of situation. And some of what they're doing with Social Security isn't just trying to trim off those extremes of, oh, the people that are over 150, which is just a computer issue, a data entry issue. Long story there, and the people under, that's just a misunderstanding of why they're getting Social Security checks. But in addition to that, they're cutting the staff significantly to the point where it's difficult for people to get either registered correctly to start receiving the Social Security that they've earned, or if there's some kind of issue with not getting a check and trying to understand why they didn't get their check or whatever, they got to stand in lines forever because there's half the workforce there used to be, or they have to drive 2 hours now because there's not an office open in their spot anymore.
One of the laws that they changed was that you had to go in person if you needed to make a change to your Social Security. Some of these offices are hours and hours away from where people live.
Yep. Yeah. And we have another video. This is Elizabeth Warren, one of the people that we enjoy and respect for standing up for the people, that she would be part of that, whatever this other party is going to be. If it ends up not being Democratic, she definitely is one that stands up for the interest of the people. So this is her talking to someone who's involved in the Social Security Administration right now. And again, a congressional hearing of some sort.
Thank you. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So 90 years ago, Congress passed the Social Security Act, and the deal was simple. You work hard, you pay into Social Security across all your earnings years, and then when you retire, you can count on having those Social Security benefits that you paid for. And now co-presidents Trump and Musk want to renege on that deal. So DOGE has taken a sledgehammer to the Social Security Administration, firing staff, closing field offices, and pulling the plug on phone services. Last week, the acting commissioner of Social Security, who is openly working with Elon Musk, actually threatened to shut down the entire agency. Now, this isn't about efficiency. Elon said the quiet part about his plans right out loud. Musk said we should, quote, eliminate Social Security. The richest man in the world said that Social Security for 73 million Americans should be destroyed. Mr. Bisignano, you have been nominated to be in charge of Social Security, and seniors need to have a right to know if you're going to protect their benefits. So let's start simple. Say a 66-year-old man qualifies for Social Security. Mr. Bisignano, could the Social Security Administration or Elon Musk or Donald Trump decide to cut her benefits by $5,000 for no reason without a new law passed by Congress?
Is that a question, ma'am?
Yeah, that's a question.
I don't see that happening.
I didn't ask if you see it happening. Could they, by law, cut those benefits without coming to Congress?
No.
No. All right, so let's dig deeper. Suppose this same 65-year-old calls the helpline to apply for Social Security, But he's told about the new Doge rule, so he has to go online or in person. He can't drive. He has trouble with the website, so he waits until his niece can get a day off to take him to the local Social Security office. But Doge closed that office, so they have to drive 2 hours to get to the next closest office. When they get there are only 2 people who are staffing a 50-person line, so he doesn't even make it to the front of the line before the office closes, and he has to come back. Now, let's assume it takes our fellow 3 months to straighten this out, and he misses a total of $5,000 in benefits checks, which, by law, he will never get back. So, Mr. Bisignano, is that a benefit cut?
Well, first of all, Senator,
Is that a benefit cut? I'm sorry, my time is limited here. That's an easy question, yes or no? Is it a benefit cut?
I have no intent to have anything like that happen on my watch.
I understand that. Is it a benefit cut?
I'm not sure what to call it. It sounds like a horrible situation.
Is the person getting the $5,000 they were legally entitled to?
That was your scenario. And
so are they getting $5,000 they were legally entitled to?
I don't know. I mean,
you
just told me.
I mean, it was such a great way to frame that. I mean, that's a very realistic scenario. And he's like, it would be, technically, that would be a cut to their benefits because they can't get it back.
Yeah, it's just, and this is happening everywhere. I saw one politician that said, and this is like a billionaire, and said, I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, if my mom didn't get her Social Security check, she would just think I screwed something up. How privileged are you that you don't understand that there are people that live Social Security check to Social Security check to Social Security check? There are people that if they don't get the Social Security check, they're not going to eat.
Yep. Their heat's going to get turned off. Their water's going to get turned off.
They're going to get kicked out of their place. I mean, it's the callousness, the lack of regard for humanity, for regular, everyday people it's just so offensive. And it's so offensive to everything that I grew up thinking and believing about how we need to care about each other. And the crazy thing is that there's the Christian nationalists who are, behind this going, yes. And I'm looking at them going, that is, I went to church when I was a kid. I've read the Bible. I've learned what Jesus had to say, and it's not this.
Right.
It's very confusing. How do they justify it? I just don't get it.
Yeah. And, the other thing that is, I think, sort of a read between the lines situation here is when what they're doing isn't directly changing the benefit payouts at this moment. So you wouldn't say, obviously, they're cutting Medicare benefits or Social Security benefits. What it seems like they're trying to get themselves positioned for is making it such an inefficient and difficult thing to work with that then they have to go, oh, we should just privatize it. That way it'll be more efficient because we just don't have the government people that can run it the right way. And then when you privatize it, just like with prisons and all kinds of other things that get privatized, it's all for profit.
Yeah.
Which then just goes to whoever's leading that, CEO wise or upper management wise, is making more money.
And most of the time that we've seen that, and we've seen it with the prisons, is that then it's profitable to keep people in prison. It's profitable to put people in prison. So then you end up with corruption of your police, which is already happening for many other reasons. So it's just all of this is just crazy, crazy slippery slopes. I do want to share one more crazy slippery slope with you before we go, which is, and this happened yesterday. And this is just the craziest thing. And I saw it on Trump News. I'm not sure if that's the clip I have. But this sounds on the surface level sounds good, right? It's this called this executive order establishes the DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which initiative aims to enhance Washington, D.C. by increasing law enforcement presence, enforcing quality of life laws. There's, it's a beautification program focused on restoring federal buildings, monuments, parks, removing graffiti. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Why wouldn't we want this? Why wouldn't we want our country's capital to be gorgeous? Except it's so much bigger than that. Let me go ahead and play this, and then we'll share thoughts.
And now to a Fox 5 News alert. Tonight, President Trump with an executive order targeting the District of Columbia.
The White House says that it is part of the president's efforts to make D.C. safe and beautiful. Fox 5's Josh Rosenthal joining us live from Northwest with more on what that order actually does. Josh.
Hey, guys, this executive order has been talked about for quite some time now, but now, as of tonight, about 6:30 p.m., it's happening. The executive order establishes what would be called the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force. It says it would be comprised of members of key federal agencies, and among other things, this task force would focus on enforcing what the White House calls quality of life laws, like drug use, unpermitted demonstrations, and vandalism. Also, maximizing immigration enforcement, strengthening pretrial detention policies, expediting concealed carry licenses, and cracking down on fare evasion and other crimes on the metro. That's on top of what's called a beautification plan that touches on things like removing homeless encampments. I want to play you a portion of a video the White House posted on social media tonight. Then you'll hear reaction to it all from an American university professor.
We will take over our horribly run Washington, D.C. and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital so that it is no longer a nightmare of murder and crime.
A nightmare of murder and crime. The first thing that hit me, Jenny, the very first thing that hit me was, oh shit. If he's able to make this happen, if we don't rise up soon, I hope April 5th isn't too far away.
Yeah.
He is going to lock down DC. He is going to lock this thing down. And I was having a difficult time really kind of putting my finger on why I was so upset. The only thing that I could see in my head was, oh my gosh, he's going to do this, kick out all the homeless, kick out anybody that disagrees with him, anybody that dissents against the government, he's going to pack everybody with guns, just all of these things. The quality of life law means they have permission to get anybody off the street that doesn't agree with them. Quality of life law. Beautification law is the same thing. Well, you're not beautifying this place, so you're gone. It's just very, very dangerous. And all I could see in my head was, oh my gosh, if he's able to succeed with this, it is a blueprint for how to do this in your city. You got too many Democrats in your area. This is how you flip your city. Here's how you have a MAGA. Here's how you have a MAGA city. And it really bothered me.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that would be an even quicker take to that, or easier flip, is here's how you make a white city.
Yes. Here's how you make a white city. Exactly.
Yep.
A pretty white city.
Yep.
With all the people, all the women look like women, and all the men look like men. Manly men protecting the women.
Yeah. And the thing that,
from other manly men.
Right. The thing that jumped out to me as he was listing off the different things there was the unpermitted demonstrations, because who's going to permit a demonstration against
the
his
government
current regime? And so the only option at that point would be to have an unpermitted demonstration. And then now they can remove all those people. So it's, obviously that should be considered a violation of First Amendment rights. That specific part of it. I mean, there's other things that are being violated through with other parts of that, but that's part of another part of what's scary to me is, like you said, that becomes then a template, and they can just start applying that all around the country. Now, the interesting thing though is most large cities are Democrat, are blue, and probably would not want that template. So it's the smaller cities that are red that could apply it. And it'd probably be easier for them to get away with anyway, because it's a smaller, more manageable situation.
I put the information into ChatGPT just to get an analyst. I said, let's look at the executive order, and please give me devil's advocate. What's wrong with this order? How can this be misused? And it said beautification becomes a code for exclusion. Quality of life selectively enforced. You can just simply remove people who are considered undesirable. Expediting conceal and carry permits is simply a way of letting people know we're probably all armed here, so don't even try something. The other thing, and you alluded to this, is that most of Washington, D.C. is on federal land. And part of what this executive order says is, because it's focused on federal land, is that the federal government could exert outsized influence on who gets to gather, protest, or even exist in these spaces. It's a short walk from cleaning up to clearing out. And so I don't believe I'm crazy for thinking this is not a good thing.
No.
This is something we definitely need to be fighting against. And it seems like this little, hey, it's just making DC pretty. Who wouldn't want to make DC pretty? Want that?
Right. It would probably be more appropriate to call it like a whitewashing executive order of DC.
Yeah, the whitewash. We should call it the whitewashing executive order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that also, I mean, it's not, that's a specific executive order he's done to see how it works to try to do it throughout a whole city. We were also talking before the pod about the situation at Costco, right? Where they've got ICE agents standing outside Costco and just filtering people out, basically.
Yeah, this lady came on TikTok, and we're not going to show the video now. It's getting kind of late, but there's she said there was just a line of ICE officers outside of Costco, so you had to go through them to get in or out, and they were detaining people that weren't white and asking for their papers. Asking for their papers. What country are you in? We have to carry our papers around.
To go to the damn store?
To go to the store?
Like, come on.
Yeah, asking people for their passport.
That's crazy.
A few more crazy things. Jenny, you want to talk about the law firms real quick?
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of another example of kind of a branch off of, if I don't give you permission to demonstrate, you can't be here kind of thing. Trump has actually started going after law firms that have brought cases against him. And some of that has been through executive order as well, where the thing that he's doing is kind of threatening them and giving them an ultimatum, similar actually to what you were talking about with Columbia University. And what some of them have agreed to now to avoid whatever punishment he was trying to do to them is that they would do millions of dollars of pro bono work for whatever he deems necessary.
Right. So he's just going to make them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Just more craziness down in Florida. Proposed changes to Florida's child labor laws. This with DeSantis is fully behind. 14-year-olds working overnight, teens working overnight on school days, and to end guaranteed meal breaks for ages 16 and 17. I mean, it's like we're going right back to the 30s. I mean, this is crazy.
And as someone living in Florida, I'm trying to even think of what jobs are they wanting these teens to do?
They want the
overnight?
teenagers. They want the teenagers. For all the immigrants that have been kicked out that worked on chicken farms, on beef farms, picking plants, any job that was being utilized by labor from other countries, from immigrants, the jobs that immigrants were doing. They want. DeSantis said, well, in order to fix our immigration problem, because we're kicking everybody out, I'm paraphrasing, because we're kicking out all the immigrants, well, we should utilize we have lots of kids, and a lot of kids are homeschooled now. They have time. I mean, he's like, I worked as a teenager. Why can't they work? And then we can fix our labor problem right there with your children. Yeah.
I really don't see the teenagers of Florida, the ones that I'm aware of anyway, even being remotely willing to or interested in working overnight in anything that immigrants were working before. They're just not
which is part of the reason they are trying to make us all broke. That is why, because if and Bezos even said he wants his workforce scared. That's what he said. He wants his workforce scared. He wants them scared and hungry, so they come to work and they don't complain. That's what they want. That is the end goal here, guys. That is it. And we're just sitting here going, nah, they won't do it. It can't happen. It wouldn't happen, right? It wouldn't happen here. Fucking would happen here. It is happening here.
And that absolutely follows the Chinese workforce playbook, because they do the same thing. They keep their workers hungry and scared in a variety of ways. So that's another example of we're turning into that kind of society.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that all the things that we've always said about other countries all these years was actually just projection. All the horrible things that we've said about other countries, it's actually our own country. So we need to make sure we're standing up. And so we have these different websites we'd like to make sure we share with you every week. Of course, there's a General Strike US. That is for the big strike. When we have enough people signed up for that, we can do a general strike and actually change things in our government. Please sign up for that. 5 calls, we've already talked about that before, but 5calls.org. It's a great app. It'll list exactly who you need to call if you want to call about a specific topic, if you want to talk about something that is upcoming, if you want to talk to somebody on a national level, you want to talk to somebody on a local level, 5calls.org. Get that. It is fantastic. So we have a few more. I'm not sure. Do you remember what that one is? Join the People's Union.
Join the People's Union is the one that gives the different economic blackouts.
Awesome.
Kind of keeps track of those. And today, I believe, was another 24-hour blackout, where we were not spending at any of the major, franchise stores like Walmart, or Amazon, or things like that.
Yeah, and our next big one coming up is April 5th. And to make sure
That's
you're
the day
here,
of action,
Yeah, day of action.
Before we jump into that, though, the next
please.
significant economic blackout is a week-long one again, where it's a Walmart blackout.
Oh, yeah.
From April 7th to the 13th.
Mm-hmm. 1 week. So, and then the weekend before that, April 5th, will be the one day you can go to your capital. There are marches on capitals. There's a march on Washington, march in the Capitol. But across the country, there are also smaller groups that are getting together to do something to let them know that we are not interested in Project 2025. We are not interested in a lot of the things that this regime is putting forward. So you can go to handsoff2025.com, and that'll show you where your local things are happening across the country. And you can also just Google your city and April 5th and see what is going on. When you go to these, I found this and I thought this was really great. It's called the Activist Checklist, not the activistchecklist.org. Cool thing is that depending on where you're going and what you're doing, it just gives you things to think about and do to keep yourself safe when you are out doing your activism. Yeah, let's see. And I think that's about it for this week.
Yeah, and we're trying to keep we have a resources page on our website now as well, unleashedafpodcast.com. We're trying to keep that updated.
Jenny does a great job.
As we find new resources like this, that's another place you can go to kind of keep track of this. I know you can't just click on it when you're looking at the video, but most of these are already on our website on the resources page. We'll be adding the other ones so that they're all there available for you to get to.
Awesome. Yeah, Jenny, thank you so much she does a great job keeping that updated for us and for you, of course. We want to end with one final video because I think both of us think it's really important to show that there are people that are doing activism in different ways. And it's not all just going out and protesting. There's so many different things that you can do. Just having this podcast is activism. So I want to share with you. This is a coffee shop that got some bad news, and they turned it into some great news. And love to share it with you. I call it the disgustingly pro-women video. It's fantastic.
It's a great slogan. Like, thanks for that. I think he unknowingly gave us like the best compliment in the world.
The shots of espresso are a caffeine-filled pick-me-up, but the vibe inside Flamingo's coffee bar in Exeter is just as uplifting. Mackenzie Logan's shop is brimming with creative drink concepts, lattes and flights. It's led to lots of loyal customers and a second location. But it's a 2-star Yelp review from a curmudgeonly visitor last fall that's now framed for all to see. Quote, place was disgustingly pro-women, and just walking inside, I immediately felt unwelcome as a male. Probably wouldn't return.
Logan says her initial reaction was, ouch. But that mindset quickly shifted from offended to empowered.
Mackenzie posted online asking customers if they'd buy disgustingly pro-women shirts. The response? A resounding yes. Her garage turned into a busy shipping center to send packages all over, quickly selling out. 20% of the t-shirt proceeds continue to go to Exeter Area Women Aid, which helps people with immediate financial needs, turning what was a negative comment into something that continues to be positive.
I think it's not shameful at all to say you're a feminist. I think every person in the world should call themselves a feminist, and I think more people should be like loud and proud about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
And we all have the ability to do that. Every single day, there is just crazy amount of information coming to you, but we can all find a way to take some of that and turn it into something good because we are capable of doing that.
Yeah. And I looked it up. That's actually in a small town in New Hampshire. So you don't have to be in some big, metropolitan area to have an opportunity to make a difference like that, or to find your own lane that's going to be sort of fighting back or supporting the efforts. Just a small town in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Isn't that great? And every week we're going to try to find at least one, if not more, videos that share people that are being active and showing that, you can have power while things are crazy. Just to take charge. So thank you so much for watching with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, follow, share. If you got a topic, question, want to be a guest, you have a topic that you're like, oh my gosh, we have got to talk about this, let us know. Visit Unleashed AF pod. Oh my,
Easy for you to say.
Visit unleashedafpodcast.com. That is our website. And if you go to the WWJDD page, What Would Jenny and Deidre Do? You can send us messages. We'd love to hear from you. And that is all for this week, unless you have something else to add, Jenny.
Nope, we're good. We'll see everybody next week.
Fantastic. And we will see you next week. Get unleashed, AF.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel